Hello, and welcome back to Totally Schway, a podcast about the DCAU.
Yeah, hi there.
Hi, my name's Mary, and this is my husband Luke.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about a few different things today. Our main topic today is going to be the episode Epilogue.
From Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah.
But before we do that, I'm going to break with tradition a little bit. Tradition after 2 episodes. Yeah, I'm going to talk about some really cool stuff that's happened recently. Because at the time of recording, San Diego Comic-Con is in full swing. By the time this comes out, it'll all be over, and hopefully nothing else has happened. But there were some really cool things announced that I wanted to highlight. So first of all, just before Comic-Con started, Mondo, the action figure and vinyl and poster company, confirmed their newest Batman the Animated Series action figure of Man-Bat. Now, that was a massive surprise because they had shared designs, preliminary designs for characters. Must have been 2 years ago now, and it was Batman, Mr. Freeze, Catwoman, the Joker, Harley Quinn, Batgirl, and Robin, I believe. So this Man-Bat one was a complete surprise. The Harley Quinn one was the last one they'd released earlier in the year. It actually hasn't shipped yet. I haven't got mine yet. It's been posted. It's been posted in September, apparently. But anyway, this Man-Bat one completely took me by surprise, and I let out a really undignified sound when I saw it.
I can confirm this. I can definitely confirm this because I was asleep. Well, I was going to sleep, and I was in bed. And I heard this, and I thought something was wrong.
No, something was very right. Now, if you're not familiar with Mondo's figures, they're about 1 foot tall. And this Man-Bat one has got a wingspan of 3 feet, so it's massive.
Massive.
It's got a bunch of different heads with it as well, including like a half-transformed Man-Bat Kirk Langstrom face. And also a kind of sad-looking Man-Bat from when Francine catches him on leather wings.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's amazing. That's on sale now. They're only producing 1,000 of them, so it might even be sold out by now. But I got mine, so I'm happy.
Yeah, you got yours pretty quick, didn't you?
Yes, I set an alarm for 2 minutes before sale opened, and I ordered it straight away. And got a little panicky when it took too long to load for my liking. But I got one. I'm happy.
Yes, I heard that as well.
Well, that was at 6 p.m, so of course you're going to hear it.
The panic.
Yeah.
But I would be the same way, to be honest.
But keeping things Mondo, when San Diego Comic-Con actually opened on, I believe it was on the Friday,
I think I know what's coming.
Yeah, you know what's coming. So they let people come by their booth and take pictures of their upcoming products. And what do you know? They snuck in another Batman animated series action figure that is coming out this fall, the autumn for people in the UK.
You're never going to believe who it is.
Yeah, well... Yeah, I mean, it took me by surprise as well, frankly, because, again, I'm thinking back to that list of character designs they had. So I was kind of expecting, if they were going to do it, maybe Robin, Batgirl. Nope, it is the Phantasm. And I'm just looking at the release date here. Yeah, fall 2023. Not only have they got this absolutely fantastic looking, really authentic 1 foot tall figure of the Phantasm, and apparently it's going to have a bunch of different heads. Presumably one of them will be, I nearly said Andrea Romano then.
Oh, no. Yeah.
No, Andrea Beaumont. But they're also re-releasing Mr. Freeze and Batman as part of their Batman Noir line.
I know what else is coming. This is going to be like, okay, I love Phantasm. Don't get me wrong, but there's something else that's coming up, isn't there?
Yeah, I've got a bunch of things, but this Batman Noir line is basically their animated series figures, but in black and white. So there's a Batman and a Mr. Freeze, and they're coming in the winter of 2023. So that's any time.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and they do look really cool, and I'm weak. I'm probably going to end up ordering them all.
Is that even a question?
Yeah, I don't have the space. I'm just looking around this my office. It's just a little box room.
Yeah.
And I've got plastic storage boxes stuffed full of... In fact, there's one box there that's just full of Mondo figures. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in there. And that's just one box completely filled up with 5 of their figures. Now, keeping it on a theme, so I've kind of written these news in. You'll see the logic to it.
Yeah.
The other thing that was announced by Warner Brothers is that Mask of the Phantasm is getting a 4K ultra high definition release.
Finally.
On September the 12th, I believe. If I buy this, which
Not if, it's when.
When I buy this will be the 5th time I've bought this film. I got it on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray. Technically, I got it on Blu-ray again as part of the animated series collection, but I don't count that because I already had the Blu-ray.
Mm-hmm.
And I have it digitally on Amazon. And this will make the 5th time that I've bought it. And
but it's worth it.
It's
definitely worth it. It's one of those films that I think I've watched it twice.
Ever?
Yeah.
I've watched it twice in the last 6 months.
I know, but I've watched it twice, and it's one of those films that I could still just watch over and over again if it was, if it was on all of the time.
You've probably heard it more times, but
yes, definitely. I've definitely heard it a fair few times.
Yeah.
Not complaining about that.
No, of course not. Yeah. The one cool thing that really swayed me into buying it is it has one special feature, which is a documentary called Kevin Conroy, I Am the Knight. Now, I don't know what it consists of. Yeah. It could just be like a 2-minute thing. I don't know. But I imagine it will be a documentary about Kevin Conroy, and I'm all there for it.
Yeah, of course. You'd buy it even if it was just a re-release of the Blu-ray, just to have that. But luckily, we get to see, it in 4K, and we also get to see the documentary about Kevin.
Yeah, hopefully so. I mean, it's a little disappointing there isn't like a director's commentary, because they've never done one for Mask of the Phantasm, as far as I'm aware.
I love director's commentaries.
Yeah, so do I.
I remember watching The Fast and the Furious on DVD for the first time after I saw it a couple times at the cinema. And then I watched the director's commentary. Blew my freaking mind because it was so detailed. And I just looked forward to, well, not every DVD that came out, but a lot of the stuff that I watched on DVD had director's commentary back then. And it was just really nice. And I wish more people would do it nowadays.
Yeah.
Even if it's a couple of episodes here and there of something, I love to see the details and also little stories the directors or producers have about that particular film or series. Yeah.
And the thing that worries me is that this movie's 30 years old now.
Yeah.
A lot of the people working on it, some of them aren't alive anymore. Kevin Conroy, for instance, Boyd Kirkland. I'm pretty sure Boyd Kirkland was a sequence director of that film. Bob Hastings, Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. I'm not going to list all the dead people because that's morbid.
Yeah.
But their experience and their knowledge is going to be lost forever.
Yeah.
Eventually, if no one starts recording it down and, uploading it to the internet where it can live on forever. So, watch this space. I'm going to see what I can do. I'm going to see if I can play my part in cataloguing some of this stuff.
Definitely, because we still need those stories and the reasons that they did what they did to go on, like you said. And it's always interesting.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Yeah, it's great insight for fans.
Mm-hmm.
I think we spent maybe a little too long talking about that. We said we wanted it to be shorter this time, but oh well.
It's my podcast, and I can have it however long I'd like it to be.
So the next news item I have is the toy company Mezco. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Ooh.
They are releasing their own Batman animated series figure line. Now, these are smaller figures, I believe. I might be mistaken, but I think they're like 4-inch figures like the old Hasbro or Kenner figures. They've only got 5 points of articulation, so arms, legs, and neck, I believe.
For nostalgia.
Yes. But they're doing Batman, Robin, Joker, Catwoman, Two-Face, and the Batmobile. So that's another line of figures that will be coming out that will be taking up our money. But
space.
Space. Yeah, well, yeah, actually... I'm not too concerned about money because you can't take it with you, but then again, you can't take all this stuff with you.
It's more about the space.
Yeah, it's space, so I need to do something about all of this mess. But the big news then, I suppose, the final bit of action figure news.
Is this my favourite?
This is your favourite bit, yeah.
I've been waiting 5 minutes for this.
So McFarlane Toys, who are the official action figure partners of DC Comics, are reviving the DC Direct Batman animated series line.
Yes.
And they are doing something very sneaky. They are re-releasing repainted versions of Batman, Robin, the Scarecrow, and Mr. Freeze. Now, for those of us that bought the original line, you might think, oh, I'm not interested in buying those. I've already got those figures. I don't need to get them
twice.
again. Yeah, well, sneaky Todd McFarlane's had a thought about that. So
excited.
Basically, each of these figures include parts of a build-a-figure. Now, if you're not familiar with that terminology, basically what that means is if you buy all of the figures in the wave, they each come with a piece of another figure that you can then assemble into the final figure of the wave. And the character that they have selected for the build the figure line is none other than the Condiment King. Yes, so they finally listened. They are producing a Condiment King action figure that we can all enjoy so long as we buy the other Batman, Robin, Scarecrow, and Mr. Freeze figures. Although the great thing about McFarlane figures is that they are widely available in mainstream shops and supermarkets. Like you'll find them at Walmart and Target and stuff. So they're much easier to come across. And one other thing I forgot to mention is they're doing a Batman on a bat bike that lights up. So that's also really cool.
I mean, it's not as cool as the Condiment King, but you know. We're still going to get it, obviously.
That is the pièce de résistance. The Condiment King is coming at last.
So I thought I would sneak in here and say this. I love the figures that we have in our home. I absolutely love them. I don't care that we have a lot of them. The only thing that I care about is the fact that it takes up a lot of space. And we own our own apartment, but when we own our own house, you better believe that is going to be on showcase and it's not going to be in boxes. I am not the type of person that just wants all of Luke's action figures to be in boxes. They cannot be boxed up for the rest of their lives.
Well, some of them can. You know, somebody told me in the comments that the Scarecrow figure, the original release Scarecrow figure from the DC Direct line, is on sale for over £200. Now, it was 20 quid when it came out when I bought it.
Yeah, and?
So I kind of want to protect it and keep it safe and out of the sunlight. And
and I'm not one of those wives that are like, oh my God, why are you buying that? Wasting your money. I don't think he's wasting his money because I really like these figures as well. I just feel that it's time for us to start looking for a house rather than just an apartment.
Yeah, I suppose so.
But yeah, I wanted to put that in there because I don't want people thinking that I'm against the action figures because I really like them.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Yeah.
So the final bit of news, non-action figure related, but it is DCAU related. So at San Diego Comic-Con, they had the Eisner Awards. Now, if you're not familiar with the Eisners, they're essentially the comic book industry's Oscars. And I was so pleased to see that Kevin Conroy's short story, Finding Batman, won the Best Short Story Eisner. It was a very difficult story to read. It's a biographical story talking about his struggles as an out gay man in Hollywood before he got the role of Batman and how he used those struggles to help define the voice of Batman for his audition, and it kind of ends with his audition beginning. It's only like 10 pages, something like that.
If you get a chance to read it, definitely give it a go because it's quite powerful. Yeah,
it's actually free to read along with the entire DC Pride 2022 special, I think it was.
It was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. God, time's flying by quickly, isn't it? It's free to read in the DC Universe Infinite app. I think that's what it's called. The comic book reading app, basically. You don't even need to have a paying subscription to read that one.
Is that just in the US or is that worldwide?
US, UK. I think it's in most countries, although someone in the comments, I've forgotten his name. I apologise. I should write them down. He said that the link wasn't working for where he was, which is a shame.
Yeah.
But I'll edit in some of the panels.
Yeah.
For during this news story here. Yeah. So that's it. That's everything that BTAS related and DCAU related that I am aware of that happened at Comic-Con. They did also announce 2 new animated movies. One of them is Watchmen.
Oh, yes, I'm excited about that. I love Watchmen.
And the other thing is an animated Crisis on Infinite Earths, which immediately, when you start talking about like multiverse stuff, immediately you start to think, could you start to see, say, the DC animated universe characters come back and interact with the more modern ones? That could be interesting. Maybe chuck in Teen Titans Go as well.
I'd be stoked about that, because you know how much I love Teen Titans Go.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine having, say, George Newburn's Superman with, what's his name, Jerry O'Connell's Superman? That would be cool.
You're forgetting my favorite Superman.
Tim Daly.
Tim Daly.
Yeah, imagine them bringing Tim Daly in as well. That would be very cool. I wasn't going to talk about those in the news, but I just thought I'd bring them up anyway. So yeah, that's it. That's it for the news, and there probably will never be another news segment unless something amazing happens.
Until next time.
Until next week.
Okay, so we're going to move on to our main topic, which is Epilogue.
The Justice League Unlimited episode. Yeah. Epilogue.
I know we said that we weren't going to do, just episodes of stuff, but I feel that this is an important one to do because, well, I wanted to do it. Yeah,
I mean, we're not going to do like a review where we talk about, oh yeah, this is what happens in in the order of events, and this is what it means, and I think the music was really good and the animation was great.
I don't know what that accent was.
I don't know either. It's just a voice.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just really going to talk conceptually about it, I think. I'm going to try to be conceptual. Of course, now that I've said all this, I'm probably going to sit down and talk through and then.
Yeah.
I'm going to try not to, but forgive me if I do.
So we should start off with talking about one of my favorite people from, Batman's Rogues Gallery. It's Ace.
Yeah, it's interesting that you're honing in on the flashback period with Ace. Because this is basically like a final episode of Batman Beyond, but it's just taking place in the Justice League Unlimited. That segment is what, like, not even 5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes?
No, but it has such an impact on not just the episode, but it has an impact on the entire series as a whole. Even when you go back, you start to notice things that just make sense now.
Yeah, I think it is a very important insight into the Bruce Wayne Batman character.
Yeah.
There's something that struck me when I first watched this episode is, okay, Amanda Waller turns up. Here I go, describing the events. Amanda Waller turns up and says, Ace is going to have an aneurysm and the psychic backlash is going to kill us all. Someone needs to put her down.
Yeah.
And Batman goes, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Right, first of all,
we know that character well enough to know that most likely, as she says, his wits have saved the world. We know he's got good wits about him, and you just know in your heart of hearts that he's not going to use that weapon.
Yeah, you would know Batman doesn't kill anyone ever, unless you're Clayface.
Once his belt clicked with the weapon inside, you knew he was not going to use it.
Yeah, he was basically taking that weapon off the table.
Yeah.
Because if he'd have just gone in there, if he'd said, no, let me talk to her, then someone could have come running in and used it on her. So he's going, give me the weapon, I'll do it. Yoink, not really.
That's how I felt about it, that it was in his hands, and his belt. It was in his belt, and he had control over it. He was keeping Ace safe, as well as everyone else.
Yes.
And that's just Batman, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it's one of those scenes that people that have watched Justice League Unlimited, they remember it. You talk about Justice League Unlimited, everyone goes, oh my God, remember in Epilogue? Like Kevin Smith, he's obviously a massive nerd figure, but he keeps going on about Epilogue reducing him to tears.
Yeah, it did. The first time I watched it, and at the time, I wasn't a massive crier when it came to like movies or music or anything. Yeah. No comment on nowadays. But back then I watched it and I was like, I've never, even in a non-animated show, I've never felt compelled to cry like this. And it was like not a, oh my God, Grey's Anatomy, just 2 tears and that's it because you're sad and a sniffle. This was like, I had to take a minute afterwards because it was so striking.
Yeah, and it was very tastefully done as well. You just have that extreme close-up of Batman holding out his hand, and Ace reaches over and takes his hand. He holds her hand to comfort her. Cut back to Amanda Waller and the rest of the Justice League, and all of the distorted reality effects fade away. Batman walks out with her in his arms. That's it.
Yeah, that was Ace's gift to, well, basically Ace's gift to Bruce for comforting her in the end.
And can I just say, just to bring this back to the Batman Beyond era, what a sentimental old fool Bruce Wayne is, naming his dog in the future after this poor dead girl.
Oh my God, I never put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, because his dog is named Ace.
Yeah, but that is so cute. I never really, until you just said that, I never put 2 and 2 together. Oh my God, I want a dog named Ace, and you know that so bad.
I used to have a cat named Ace, but that was long before Justice League came out. Yeah. She died in the 90s.
So what are your thoughts? By the way, big spoiler alert, I guess we should say.
Yeah, you have to. I'm going to have to assume that everyone listening to this has watched it.
Yeah.
Probably should have said that at the start.
So, what are your thoughts on Terry Wayne?
Terry Wayne. Yeah. So it's interesting you say that. So the thing I always get frustrated with is I see people making comments on the internet saying, oh, they've cheapened Terry by making him Batman's clone.
You shut your mouth.
Right, first of all, he's not a clone, he's his son. Yeah. His father, Warren, had how can I put this politely? He had his reproductive material changed to Bruce Wayne's reproductive material. If anyone was turned into Bruce Wayne's genetic clone, it was Warren McGinnis.
Yeah.
Terry is Bruce's son. He is his son. That's why they're not the same. They look similar, yes, but they're very, very different people.
And Amanda Waller said it best, is she believes that they're very similar, except Terry did not get Bruce's wits.
No, but he got his heart. That's right.
He did, and that's what we see as Batman, is like the heart of the hero.
Yeah.
And
yeah, and it's interesting then. So his little brother Matt is obviously Bruce Wayne's son as well.
Yeah.
Now it's I guess it was never intended to be that way, as far as I'm aware. But I suppose there was a kind of a hint to it because Terry and Matt had black hair, but his mother has red hair, and his father, I think his father was a redhead as well.
Yeah, they're both redheads.
He might have had light brown hair, but anyway, point is, these two kids have got shocking black hair like Bruce Wayne had.
I would like to know if that was intentional. Like, if they knew this whole time.
They didn't.
They didn't.
They did not deliberately. They deliberately didn't.
Yeah. But I want to know. I want another season of Batman Beyond. Let's make a petition to say we need Will back. Obviously, we can't have our Lord and Savior Kevin Conroy back.
Yeah.
Which is sad. But we need everyone else back.
Yeah,
to have another season.
I mean, I'd be fully on board with that. There was supposed to be a podcast finale for Batman the Animated Series that was announced like a year before Kevin died. He and John Glover were at a convention. They said, yeah, we've got the script. We're going to record it. Danny Elfman's doing the music. And since then, it's gone silent. I really hope that they were able to record it. And I would really, really hope that the reason why we haven't heard anything about it is because they're going to animate it.
Yeah.
That would be my dream scenario.
Yeah.
Well, maybe my dream scenario is that it even exists in the first place. But Alan Burnett apparently wrote this wonderful script that was like designed to put a bow on everything Batman related and be like the final word on it.
Yeah.
And I really hope it exists and materializes one day. And actually, just to go back to Epilogue. So Alan Burnett did not work on Justice League Unlimited, but he did work on Batman Beyond. He does not agree with Terry being the son of Bruce Wayne. He said that the message they were trying to get across with Batman Beyond is that anyone could be Batman.
Yeah,
so
it's
long
the
as
heart.
as long as they put their heart and energy into it. Whereas having him being Bruce's offspring kind of cheapens that message, which I can kind of see where he's coming from.
I don't agree. I don't think it cheapens it, but I do agree with saying that anyone could be Batman as long as you have the heart, because you don't get everything from your parents or your biological parents. You have to make your own decisions in life, and I think what's beautiful about Bruce/Batman is the fact that his situations in life made him a badass, a hard ass, but also a very empathetic, loving person.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to watch the evolution of his character through these shows. So when you see him in Batman the Animated Series, he is quite compassionate. He's empathetic towards his villains. How many episodes ended with like the villain on their knees weeping, going, "You don't understand," and Batman's like standing over them, puts his hand on their shoulder and leads them away to help. Right? Mm-hmm. In the new Batman adventures, he is hardened. He is colder. He is. I don't know if I would say ruthless, but he is definitely not as warm. And then in early Justice League, he very much says, I'll help you out when you need help, but I'm a part-timer. You can't tell me what to do. Gotham comes first. Brr, 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 brr. By the time of Justice League Unlimited, he is like the elder statesman of the Justice League. He welcomes Green Arrow into the group and says, we need someone like you to keep us honest. Mm-hmm. And then you have this whole thing with Ace in Epilogue.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad to see that by the time of Batman Beyond, he's kind of regressed back to his ways of being reclusive and thinking the worst of people. And it's his relationship with Terry is what kind of brings him out of it and takes him back to that more open, an open and loving state.
I made you soup.
Yeah, well, that's right. I made you soup. Don't forget to eat it before you go out. He's taking on like the Alfred role there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of lost track of what I was saying there. But, it's interesting to see this kind of evolution throughout all the series. And Epilogue, as the name suggests, it was intended to be like the final word on the DC Animated Universe. That's why the final scene where you see Terry's shadow flying from the right to the left, his shadow is cast on a building. Mm-hmm. And then he flies up past a police vehicle and the guy goes, "Did you see that?" Now that's
very familiar,
yeah,
isn't
that's
it?
a direct callback to On Leather Wings, where Man-Bat, obviously On Leather Wings is the first episode that was made in the entire DC Animated Universe. Man-Bat flies past the police blimp and they go, "Oh, did you see that?" And then you see Man-Bat flying from left to right with his shadow cast across a building. It's a direct callback to that, and I thought that was really great and poetic and wonderful. And then they got renewed for another season.
Which was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was good to get more content.
Can we talk about how Amanda Waller is a badass?
Yeah, Amanda Waller's someone that you see a lot of growth in as well in the series.
So you see her in Epilogue talking about, the fine china and how her mother gifted that to her. And, I love that scene because Terry's talking about something and Amanda's talking about something, but in a way it meets together and it's a beautiful thing. But I don't think it would have been as nice with any other character, that one conversation, other than Amanda Waller, because you see the hard ass become not just badass, but just human. Yeah,
she's much more. What's the word I'm looking for? She's warmer, isn't she?
Yeah, warmer.
She seems like a kind old lady, but she's actually doing really awful things, and she's quite okay with it.
The thing about Amanda Waller is she's one of the most important characters in this world, in my humble opinion. But she is also one of the worst because of the stuff she does with Cadmus. And, look what she did with Terry. Mm-hmm. That was not a good thing to do. That, no. Without telling the mom, without telling the dad, and not telling Bruce.
Yeah, and she was going to kill the McGinnises as well, wasn't she? Yeah. She was going to have them killed. Yeah. And this kind of ties back into what I was saying earlier about Epilogue being, the bow being tied on the DC Animated Universe, because it had so many callbacks. Yeah. Like the movie they went to go and see was a Grey Ghost film.
Yep. Loved that.
Yep. And the person that was going to kill the McGinnises was Andrea the Phantasm. Mm-hmm. All these little moments that are designed for people like me to go, wee, while I'm watching it, you know?
But yeah, I loved seeing not just I loved seeing not the ending, but obviously it was meant to be the ending. I love seeing all of that in this episode. Like, not just Batman, as in Terry and Bruce, and then the Justice League was kind of there. Mm-hmm. It's literally, like you said, they tied it all up in a little shiny bow. But yeah, it's a really awesome thing when you are a big fan of something and then, you know, it comes to an end and it's not left on a cliffhanger. Mm-hmm. It's also giving you some nostalgia. Mm-hmm. And it also just makes sense. It might not be, to some people, it might not be what they wanted. You know, Terry being the son of Batman. But it's what we got. And I think it was really, it made sense to me. It made sense to me why Amanda would want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it all made sense. Mm-hmm. It all fit very nicely.
Yeah.
Maybe too nicely.
Watch your mouth.
So one other thing I wanted to touch upon is the black and white sequences. Now, what's your opinion on those? Are they flashbacks or are they taking place in Terry's mind where he's imagining what he's going to say? I know the answer, but I'm asking you.
I always thought that they were flashbacks. Mm-hmm. But I know what you're going to say.
Yes, they are not flashbacks. Now, the biggest giveaway there is that very first flashback, Terry punches the glass on the clock and rips the door off the hinge.
You see it in the...
Yeah, and after he visits Amanda Waller, the clock's there. Now, the other thing that gives it away
is the ending where she's like, when he says, "Are we still on for Friday?"
Well, yeah, there's that. But the other thing is, they're in black and white. Mm-hmm. The other flashback is in colour. And also, they're in, like, ultra widescreen.
Oh, yeah, like noir.
Yeah, and literally, the final word of every, like, imagined scenario in his head leads into the conversation he's having with Amanda Waller. So it's like Amanda Waller says something like, once One Piece is gone, the set is ruined. And then he starts thinking about what he's going to say to Bruce. Yeah. How angry he is and what he thinks Bruce is going to say in return. He's already preparing his responses. I don't know about anyone else, but when I'm about to have an argument with someone, I think, right, okay, if they say this, what am I going to say in response?
So the pill scene, the first pill scene.
Yeah, where he drops the pills on the floor and leaves them. Yeah, that's right.
Mind blown.
And breaking up with Dana, that's in his head as well.
Yeah, because she would have reacted a different way in the end.
And the Iniquity Collective scene, which is kind of like their in Justice League, which is almost all Batman Beyond villains apart from a freaky looking version of the Parasite. Yeah. That bit is imagined as well. Oh.
You learn something new every day.
Now, I'm not saying this because I'm super smart and I can what's the word? Media literate. I'm saying this because I listened to an interview with Dan Reba where he said, yeah, those are all imagined situations. I thought, oh, Christ, yeah, they are.
We love Dan Reba.
Yeah, Dan Reba's nice. He's really friendly.
Yeah.
He's probably listening to this, by the way. Hi, Dan.
Don't judge me.
It's too late.
No,
he's blocked us.
That's amazing. Like, I never would have... Well, I think I remember you mentioning it a while ago, but you actually, like, explaining it and everything, it totally makes sense now.
Yeah.
This is the thing about Justice League, Batman, Batman Beyond, and Mask of the Phantasm, is I always end up finding something new about it, and that is why I keep going back. Also, because you know how those people, they can go to sleep at night with, I used to do that with Grey's Anatomy. Mm-hmm.
You put a show on and it'll help you go to sleep. I was just thinking, if I was going to try and get anyone into the DC Animated Universe, I'd get them to watch this episode. But really, I think, if this is the first one you've ever seen...
Do you want to ruin them?
Well, it kind of spoils a lot of it, doesn't it? And also, it's so full of, like, continuity references that are so rewarding. Yeah. When you've been watching the shows for that long, it's probably a bad idea to get them to watch that. So if you're trying to persuade anyone to get into the DC Animated Universe, don't make them watch this one. What would you make them watch? I would say watch. It depends on the type of person. You could get them to watch Almost Got Him if you want to just like a broad, general, happy person to get into watching these shows. Episodes like The Late Mr. Kent in Superman, that's really good.
Yes.
If you've got someone who's perhaps a bit more, a bit down, maybe, someone who might like a good sad story, get them to watch Heart of Ice.
Oh, God, yeah.
Watch Heart of Ice. That's how you hook them in.
So that could have just been a movie.
Yeah, it could have been.
Honestly, like, okay, I'm totally straying here. But if you were to cast Heart of Ice as a movie, who would you cast as Mr. Freeze? And you can't say Arnold Schwarzenegger. You can't say Arnie. Who would you have it? It doesn't have to be now, like, it could be any actor.
If it was in the 90s, God, I really don't know. I'd be an awful casting director because I know about stuff from like the 50s and 60s and a little bit from the 70s. I would just say cast Marlon Brando. Cast Marlon Brando and everything. Marlon Brando as Batman. Marlon Brando as Mr. Freeze. Marlon Brando as Nora Freeze.
Yeah, and Alfred.
Marlon Brando as Alfred would be perfect. And you know what? Let's just chuck in Montgomery Clift as Ferris Boyle. Why not?
Yeah. Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was a massive, rambly final thought on Epilogue.
Would you have it any different? So do we have any questions today?
We do, actually. So there were a couple of questions.
Okay.
Not as many as last time, so hopefully we get through these a bit quicker. There were 2 questions that missed the deadline for the last episode, but I thought I'd ask them anyway.
Okay.
And this is from ReRose2838.
Hey.
We've seen how the Justice League without the Flash at its heart became the Justice Lords. What effect do you think the lack of other members like Batman, Martian Manhunter, Hawkman or Aquaman would bring to the Justice League?
Now, if we're just talking about the animated TV series, the most impact would be without a Batman, because you would not have the Justice League. You would not have the funds to do it.
Yeah, who's going to buy their space station?
Who is going to have obviously, because Wayne Industries obviously does a lot of that, I'm assuming. You wouldn't have Wayne Industries helping you out. And also Superman, I think would, because I think Superman is kind of like the dad figure. There's 2 dads in there. I was going to say,
Batman's the dad. Batman's the stern dad.
Yeah, and Superman's the dad that just wants to
take them out for a fun time and make sure they've got a happy upbringing.
Yeah.
Whereas Batman's like, you are going to do everything by the book. You are going to study hard. You are going to become a doctor or a lawyer. You are going to be very successful.
Very successful.
But without Martian Manhunter. Yeah, so if Martian Manhunter wasn't there, then they wouldn't have formed. Because if you remember in Secret Origin, he's the one that put out like the psychic call to heroes, and that's what summoned everyone. You probably would have a much smaller team. So I don't know if Batman or Superman would have assembled the same type of team. I mean, Batman already has a team with his people in Gotham, so I imagine he might have just called on them to help out, maybe.
Yeah.
But then again, in Superman, he met up with a bunch of different heroes like the Kyle Rayner Green Lantern and the Flash and...
That's right.
And Aquaman. So, maybe he would have gone to them. So he might have ended up with a very different lineup for the Justice League.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there'd be any major differences if Wonder Woman wasn't there, frankly.
I'm not sure about that either.
Yeah, and the same with
don't you say it.
With Green Lantern or Hawkgirl.
No, don't you say it.
Well,
I told you not to say it.
I mean, I suppose really I've been kind of listing off scenarios like they weren't there. But I think maybe really what the question was getting at is if they had died, like the Justice Lord's Flash, he died, and that's what sent them down their fascist path.
Oh, no.
I really can't say what would happen. Well, you got a glimpse of what happened when Superman died in Hereafter, where they carried on and they had a harder time fighting. Lobo ended up joining them to bolster their numbers.
Oh, that's someone we will talk about one day.
Oh, yeah, I really like Lobo.
So what was another question?
All right, so next question. From Crashing Phantom 9632, the question is, do you think censorship helped or hindered the DCAU of this era? I have some pretty big opinions on this, but I'd love to hear your take on this. Thanks again. I did a whole video about censorship and the impact it had on Batman the Animated Series and how it made them be more creative and actually in a lot of ways a lot more horrible. And I think that certainly towards the later part of the timeline of, making Justice League, the TV censors weren't as strict. I think Justice League was very much a lighter show, though, in general. I don't really recall anything being like really horrible in it, or feeling like, "Ooh, that was been censored."
Yeah, I don't recall. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas I think the same is true of Superman. It was broadly a lighter show. I mean,
it was more wholesome.
It had some dark stuff in it, like Toyman and Metallo's origin story, but they weren't anywhere near as downbeat and genuinely traumatizing as
Batman.
Some of the Batman stories.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I'd say censorship didn't really hinder them. I'd say by this point, certainly by the time they were making Superman, they kind of successfully learned to navigate the censors to do what they like. I don't know if anyone feels differently.
Yeah, and I think as time went on, because that was over
a decade.
Yeah, a decade. I think censors kind of matured a little bit, and they realized that talking about certain topics isn't going to ruin children.
Yeah.
It might help them even. So that might have something to do with it. But
yeah, I agree. Yeah. And like I said earlier, I mean, by the year 2000, space year 2000, the TV censors were nowhere near as vitriolic as they had been.
Before we get on to the next question, I have a question. Did you party like it was 1999 in 1999?
Probably. That's a Prince song, right?
Yeah.
Good. I know things about music.
I don't remember how old I was. Was I like 10, 11?
What, in 1999?
Yeah, so
you were 11.
I probably partied so hard I was in bed by 9 p.m.
Okay, so next question from Zemox. He's got some numbers by his name, but I'm pretty sure YouTube has just given him those numbers. So 2 questions. So this is about Epilogue. Do you like the twist about Terry and Bruce, or do you think it was rubbish?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
I thought it was nice. I don't really have a good or bad opinion about it. I just thought it was nice. And it was different. I did not expect it. So, yeah. If
they hadn't have made the mention of the Cadmus tech from, what was it called? Dark Heart, I think the episode was. The cloning thing.
Yeah.
Not cloning, but, well, I suppose
I know
it kind
what
of
you
is.
mean, yeah.
Made the little robot dog things that were eating everything. If they hadn't mentioned that technology, I would have gone, this is nonsense, like I originally did with Batman Beyond Return of the Joker. I was like, so how exactly does the Joker get a chip that transforms Tim Drake into the Joker? How does that work? And then all they did is just explain, it was stolen Cadmus tech, and now I'm happy. I'm like, yeah, of course he did, of course
he did.
So, I don't think it's bad. I know I mentioned earlier Alan Burnett does not like it, but I
mean, morally, Amanda Waller should not have done this. But no, in terms of the storyline, I think for me it's neither here nor there.
Fair enough. The next question was, what did you think of the performance by Hayden Walsh, the voice of Ace, in her final scene?
I think she did a good job. Like a really good job, because it could have been overdone, but she stayed true to Ace, and I don't know, it was really, really nice that she didn't do the whole, like, soap opera moment where she could have just been like, oh. It was stayed true to Ace's character.
It's very muted.
Yeah.
Ace is kind of defined by her massive eyes and little tiny pupils that are always staring. And she always came across as being not blank, but, as you said, not very expressive. And I think the performance was completely in line with that, but there was just enough emotion in there where she said, I'm going to die, aren't I? Yes.
Yeah.
Can you stay with me?
That is the line that made me have to take a moment after watching this episode the first time, because it wasn't like I'm gonna die. It was so, like you said, muted, but you knew that was Ace's way of being emotional.
Yeah, because in the other episodes she's appeared in, she practically says nothing.
Yeah.
So seeing her be
vulnerable,
seeing her be so verbal, that doesn't sound right. But basically, she was very communicative.
Yeah,
by her standards.
Yeah, it was done very well.
Yeah, that was good. There was one other question, but I can't find the person who asked it. But they did ask, what was our favourite episode of Batman the Animated Series? Mary, I'm going to go over to you because everyone's got to know mine by now if they're subscribed to my channel.
My favorite episode of BTAS is Eternal Youth. I love Alfred, and I love the fact that he took Maggie there. And I don't know if your audience knows this, but I am a huge fan of the female characters in BTAS. Growing up, I learned something different from each of them, whether they were a hero or a villain. And Poison Ivy taught me a lot. So she's always going to be one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, that episode, because Poison Ivy is actually right that all of those people there have actively been harming the planet, and they should be, held accountable for their actions. It's just the way that she dishes out justice by feeding them this chemical that is gradually hardening their skin and essentially turning them into trees.
Yeah.
That's really messed up. And I know I did a video about what I felt were the 7 scariest episodes of Batman the Animated Series. And quite a few people would comment on this saying, I'm surprised you didn't put Eternal Youth on here because that was terrifying. But
so that's the podcast for today. We didn't want to do a huge 1.5 hour long episode this time. And I think before editing, it's an hour. Mm-hmm. And I think we did a good job. So next time, what do you want to talk about next time?
Next time, that's a really good question, because I've scheduled a couple of podcasts to be recorded over the next 2 weeks with some guests who have got some specific topics in mind. But I don't know which one's going to come first.
So I'm just going to put this out there. If I sound a little different next time, or any other times, it's because I am having a little operation on my nose, so I'll be able to breathe again. And hopefully I won't sound so nasally. So hopefully we will be introducing the new and improved Mary. But if I don't sound any different, tell me I sound good. Tell me I sound great.
Yeah, the operation has been a huge success, my lord.
So successful. I love the NHS. But no, seriously, I really do love the NHS. So I would like to talk about the pets, because I have a really lovely story about one of my best friends and how Catwoman made my life wonderful.
Okay, so that's going to be the topic for episode 3 then.
Yeah, I think episode 3, we're going to talk about the pets.
Mm-hmm. So it's going to be Isis, Ace, Streaky. Mm-hmm. Who else had pets? Poison Ivy had her pets with the plants.
That's right.
Bud and Lou. How could I forget Bud and Lou?
Obviously, Bud and Lou. Can't forget them.
Trying to think, were there any pets in Justice League? Not that I can recall. So if you've got any questions or comments you want to relay about the DC Animated Universe pets or creatures. Okay, so we're going to end it there.
So if you have any other questions, even if it's not about our next episode, just feel free to comment them on any of Luke's videos, and we will hopefully get to them.
Yeah, if you're gonna leave a comment on something that isn't related to the podcast, perhaps you could use a relevant hashtag like totally Schway or something like that.
Mary thinks it's totally Schway.
That is a bit long. Totally Schway is a bit long, actually.
Hashtag Mary thinks it's totally Schway.
So please answer this question. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
No, hashtag totally Schway podcast.
Okay. And then I'll be able to find them. So we won't end up in the situation like I was in earlier, where I could not find the guy who asked what our favourite episode of Batman was. And mine's Two-Face, by the way.
We knew that.
I know.
We knew that. So thank you guys so much for tuning in if you got this far. And I hope you have a wonderful month, week, day, anything.
One final plug. Mary is actually in the process of making Threads, Instagram, and TikTok accounts for the podcast. She's going to be sharing some content on there. What's it called, Mary? Is it Totally Schway Podcast?
Totally Schway Podcast.
Okay, across all 3 platforms.
I believe so. And you will also get to meet some of our pets, including our employee.
Quality Control Officer.
Yes, the Quality Control Officer, Gilgamesh.
Yeah, who was very disruptive at the start of this recording, but then he just swanned off.
We have been mumbling for 3 minutes. Let's just end the podcast. Love you guys. Bye.